Robert here. Will and I want to thank each and every one of you who listen and support the show. And if this is your first time catching us, please know that you can listen as always on Spotify and Apple Podcasts under Cinema 100, as well as catch our video show on YouTube under our parent company, Three Dots Media. Just click on that playlist, Cinema 100 Podcast, and there you have it. Finally, catch up on everything we have going on now and in the future on our Instagram and TikTok page under Cinema 100 Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinema 100, and keep watching movies. It's that episode, that one episode a year where Will and I get to stay current and present day and talk modern day movies. Will and I love this episode because it's it's fun to talk about contemporary things. It's fun to talk about the past, but we're excited to get to the year 2025. Not too big of a hurry, but when we get there, we will be excited, and we'll talk about the films that we loved from this past year, our top 10 favorites, 3 honorable mentions, as well as our bottom 3, the ones that just didn't quite do it for us. And along the way, we're also going to have some fun with it. We're going to talk about a lot of films from 2025 just as a whole. So, Will, this is that episode. Why do you love this episode? It's nice to step out of 1937 for a change.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of the film stuff that I pay attention to, it kind of circles around the year of, right? So the stuff that I consume is very current, right? I'm not listening to a lot of like 1970s podcasts about film. I'm listening to what's popular right now, what I should go see, what I should be watching that's current. And I think this year especially was a lot of fun because so many movies kind of have similar themes this year. There's a lot of parent stuff. There's a lot of, what we're leaving to the next generation, the world that we're turning over to them. So there's a lot of similar themes this year. And I think that's really interesting that, all these different filmmakers, whether they're male or female or black or white or, Asian, they all kind of have similar themes and like, what is the world that we're leaving our children?
Yeah, that's interesting you said that because it's like we're all having similar experiences, and now everybody's kind of given their version or their take on it.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I found the common themes to be a big thing. I sat down, and when we get to these films, it was either to their detriment or it was to their favor. But I had to kind of cram in a lot of the films that I didn't get to see in 2025 over the last couple of weeks as we were prepping for this episode. I'm not sure that the way to do this is to watch Sorry Baby, If I Had Legs I'd Kick You, and Sentimental Value all 3 nights in a row. I don't think that's the best way to do that because I'm sure by the end of the week I'm not necessarily having the same stamina that I might have on day one. But
Sure.
as we always do here, we do try to give a fair shake, and we talk about them in totality. So, Will, with that being said, you always watch a hell of a lot more films than I do. You're not as reluctant as I am as to throw on a Netflix movie just to see what's going on. It takes a lot. Like, it takes Ben Affleck and Matt Damon to be in both of it before I'm like, I'll give this a shot. You know what I mean? So with that being said, what was your number this year?
I ended up getting to 102.
102. Now that's about, wow. That's a solid 60 better than me. I'm about 40, 41, somewhere around there. I took on about 3 or 4 documentaries this year, which is honestly a little lower for me than I usually watch. I'd say just shy of 10 maybe every year, maybe 8 or 9. Where are you at with documentaries? Because I don't have any of those on our list this year, and we're not going to dive into them too much. But did you watch any that were intriguing that you thought might stand out or stand the test of time?
There's always a handful every year that I'm kind of like, that would probably be something that I like. But if anybody knows me that's listening to this, I've always leaned fiction over nonfiction. I just always have. Like in the books that I read, and I've always loved stories. I even have a hard time if a story's based on a true story, right? Like I don't mind the adaptation from a book, film taking a book and adapting a screenplay, but if it's a biopic, a lot of times I even have trouble with it because I think that the truth is stranger than fiction, and a lot of times when you're trying to gather an overall sentiment of something, of an idea, and putting it into fiction, you often get closer to the truth because you're trying to get to a point. You're not trying to you're not trying to take information from the world and get a point. You're trying to take an idea and build it, right? So I've always just felt like the truth you get a little closer to it with fiction.
Yeah, and I always feel like a documentary's best way of presenting information is just doing that without trying to lead
Hmm.
you to a certain conclusion. A lot of times, the documentaries, especially today, do kind of feel like, they have an agenda, and to maybe to their message, whether it be about
Yeah.
school shootings. We need to, that's going to be an argument or a conversation about guns and how we can handle that. You know, so there is these kind of, restrictions that come with those types of genres that maybe somebody watching it doesn't necessarily want to, be told how to feel. They just want to be told the information and then go from there. But you kind of got to make it entertaining too. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
a lot of that can come from the structure, and they do play with that. So, with that being
Yeah.
said, that's our documentary segment on the show this year, guys. I do want to talk a little bit about the adapted portion that you were just talking about, in the
Hmm.
way in which you were talking about getting closer to a truth, or how you go about your fiction versus nonfiction. I gotta admit, talking a little bit about 2026, just kind of stooging off something that I felt. I just watched a movie called Wuthering Heights. I loved it.
Hmm.
Now I've never read the book. I don't know much
Hmm.
about Huxtable. I absolutely loved it. It hit me to a place that I haven't found a movie like that in a long
Hmm.
time. Perfect? No, pretty close in a lot of areas for me. I absolutely love that movie. I get on Letterboxd because I'm excited to share this with the community, and it is sitting at a solid 3.0. And
Hmm.
it is simply because those that have read the book do not like the liberties taken with this story.
Yeah.
And it would be hard for me to sit there and say that I and get mad about that. I can't. I can't get mad about that, because it'd be like if somebody was telling the story of WWE, and then they said all these things that didn't match up. They took liberties. It might make me mad, because that's a piece of
Hmm.
art that I near and dear to my heart. So
Sure.
we're with that being said, I do think it would be better served if they said inspired by, you know,
Mm.
a novel. And then that way you kind of can get away and have your liberties and kind of have your cake and eat it too. We might have talked about this a little bit before on the show, but Will, just overall, because I know you're someone who likes to read and you're also somebody who loves film. When it doesn't match up to what you've read, are you
Hmm.
upset by it? Or are you kind of like me, where you're saying they're both different mediums and you understand why they went this route? Where are you at when it comes to adapted screenplays?
Yeah, I'm much more generous than I like to think that if someone's tackling something, like for instance, I think the best example here is Fight Club,
Okay.
because Fight Club, the book, is incredible, and the movie changes it in pretty significant ways. Like the book has a lot more to do with God than the movie ever even tries
Yeah.
to get at, and I think it's a good choice. So, like, I think that they both, like, if you are taking an idea from a book or from you're remaking a movie, as long as as long as it adds up in the end, as long as it's getting the general themes of it and kind of making it its own, I'm just fine with whatever an artist wants to do with their story or their, piece of art.
Yeah, I mean, the only way this is possible for us to have as many Frankensteins or iterations of these things is for people to be able to kind of take liberties the way they see it inside their
Hmm.
head. Even if we were to stick to the dialogue, or to the novel, to a T, you and I are going to make two very different movies. It's just the way it
Yeah.
is. So that means we're never going to be able to compete with the vision inside your head, because the
Right.
imagination really has no boundaries. It's this weird space where you can kind of move it, shape shift it, and make it still feel like you've been there present the whole time. So I just thought that was an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
Little programming note. Usually you're supposed to do these in the beginning, but just 8 minutes into the show, little programming note. We're going to give you our top 10, our bottom three, but we're also at the back end of the show. We're going to quickly go over our Oscar predictions for this year's 2026 Oscars, and we will go through the big 11 categories mainly. We're
Mm.
going to steer clear of certain things, but like documentary and animated shorts and stuff like that. But for the most part, we're going to get into it. So if you are hoping to get a little more of that, stick along. We'll get you that at the end. Will, I've got 35 movies in the year 2025. I have not seen all of these movies on this list. You and I were talking
Okay.
a little bit off camera. Of the 10 best Oscar picture, I only seen 8, and I had the opportunity the last 2 weeks to see them. I was just kept waiting for the price drop. A couple of the movies was still at $19.99, and I wasn't gonna bite the bullet on that because I was
Yeah.
afraid I was gonna have to do it 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, I'm not really sure I want to drop $100 to prep for this podcast. So I got
Yeah.
only 8. How many did you get?
Yeah, I ended up at 9.
Okay, which one did you not see?
The one I didn't see was The Secret Agent.
Okay, I did not see that one either. So you and
Mhm.
we do not have the secret agent on our list. So we'll drop that off. We'll talk about it when we get to it, into the Oscars part of it. But I didn't see the secret agent, and unfortunately, I saw the first 15 minutes of Begonia when it was
Mm.
on Peacock, and it shut off because I forgot that was literally my last day with
Oh.
Peacock because WWE is no longer on Peacock. So I canceled it, forgetting that I canceled that I
Mm.
was watching Begonia, and I never got to it. So I did not get back to that one, unfortunately, but we'll talk about that one as well. So, Will,
Sure.
are you ready to dive into some of the movies from 2025?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Okay, we'll set the table just for everybody watching. Basically, what's going to happen is instead of Will listing his 10, me listing my 10, we're going to name a movie. We'll put it on the docket. We'll talk about if it made our list, if it didn't, and we'll go from there. One last thing, Will, before we start this list, tell me your
Yeah.
bottom 3. The 3
Yeah.
movies in the year 2025, either the biggest disappointments or there's literally at the
Yeah.
bottom of the list. What are the 3 movies that did not work for you in
Yeah,
2025?
so I didn't go with the bottom of the list because honestly, like they were no duh, these were going to be
Yeah,
terrible. Like Trolls
exactly.
2,
Yeah.
yeah, the half star. Like we don't need to talk about that. So I'm just going to go with my biggest disappointments.
I like that
The
better
first
because that's
one,
kind of what I did too.
yeah, yeah. So Den of Thieves, Pantera. The first Den of Thieves, Gerard Butler was, I mean, really, really good. So I was pretty excited for this one, and it just kind of fell flat. I didn't really end up liking it much at all. So that one, just not a fan.
Is that is
The
that that's a Netflix movie, correct?
No, it's been on Netflix for most of the
Oh,
time it's been out, but
okay.
yeah, it's a heist movie that just didn't work the way the
Yeah,
first one did.
I know the movie. I just thought the original one was a Netflix movie, but
Oh.
you're right. It might have been in the theaters now that I think about it. So
Yeah. Yep. The second one is a movie called Play Dirty. I don't know if you saw anything about this movie this year, but
I
it's
can see the
directed by,
cover art. Yep.
yeah, directed by Shane Black, Mark Wahlberg, and Lakeith Stanfield, and it just doesn't work. And I love Shane Black, like the Nice Guys, and he's written all sorts of Lethal Weapon, and just he's been a great writer and pretty good director, and this just didn't work. So I was pretty disappointed by that. And then the one that's kind of like the how and why is this bad was was the movie Eden by Ron Howard. Did you
Yeah.
see anything about this year?
Of course, Sydney Sweeney had oh my gosh, yeah, it was a great cast. And it
Yeah.
was a Ron Howard film, but he's unfortunately kind of went into obscurity the last couple of
Hmm.
years. I don't know where he's been, and he doesn't seem to have his finger on the pulse of what people want to see
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. No, Eden was just the strangest movie. It's got Jude Law and
Jude Law.
um, Daniel Stolberg, I think is how you say his name. Uh, he's German. He's a pretty good actor. Ana de Armas, and it doesn't work. It's just the weirdest movie. Like editing's off, music's off. I just could not understand how this movie turned out bad, and it did.
Have you seen the Eden with I think Rosie O'Donnell is in it?
Oh, probably not.
It's 1994. It was called Exit to Eden. It was kind of a comedy,
Oh,
but it's the same idea. I mean, it's the same premise, just one in a drama, one in a comedy. So, Exit to
gotcha.
Eden, something you should check out. Eden by Ron Howard, unfortunately not.
Yeah,
Will, I did not see any of those movies, but I did put on my 3. Did you see this movie called Honey Dope?
yeah.
Didn't work for me.
Hmm.
It was so dry,
Yeah.
so corny, so this one literally is at the bottom of my list. This is my
Okay.
Trolls 2. And it's sad because I like Margaret Qualley. I like Aubrey Plaza. I like
Yeah.
them, and I thought those two together it might fit it just did not work for me. There
Yeah.
was a third person in that. Is it Charlie Day? Is he in that movie?
Yes, and Chris Pine, or not Chris Pine, but Chris Evans.
Evans, yeah, Chris Evans, yeah, and he's playing a weird part, and I don't know,
Hmm.
it just didn't work for me. So that's at the bottom of the list. The other two were just disappointments for me. I know I know this shouldn't be on the list. I get it, but I just Happy Gilmore 2 just didn't work. It just didn't work. It was
Yeah.
like, I mean, it was a fun watch the first time, but when I'm really watching it, I'm like on the edge of my seat giving it credit because of what it is, but it's just a gigantic cameo. Um,
Mm.
Everybody, you're just watching it for cameos. And if you were to take those cameos out and fill it with people you don't know, just actors, the
Yeah.
movie's not good. And then they get to this weird kind of arcade over the edge. I get it. It was an experience. We were all a part of it.
Yeah.
And it's something that we
Yeah.
don't share a lot of. So like, I'm glad that he gave us that. I just wish he would have gave us something that I could have watched again and again. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. I don't know. I disagree with you a little bit on this one. Just
okay.
just because I feel like it's better than we deserved, right?
Okay.
I just feel like it could have been a tragedy, and it actually has some affecting moments, in my opinion. But
Okay.
yeah,
You like
that's
the
it.
idea of killing off the late, I forget her name, but killing her off in the very first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
You like that?
hilarious.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because they don't like, I don't know, they don't treat it like, I don't. It fits the universe, right? It
Yeah.
just fits the kind of general
And
sentiment.
what I appreciate is that they brought her. She was still part of the movie. It wasn't like
Right.
what it could have been. They kill off the older woman and then they replace her with some 25-year-old. It's not just go with it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
they could have done that route and they didn't. So good for that. The other one, it was just a huge disappointment for me. It falls at about a 3 on my Letterboxd rating, and it's Smashing Machine.
Mm.
It got a lot of praise early on with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, in his performance, and his performance is fine. Like it is, in my opinion, his best performance. Like it's subtle for a gigantic figure, but the
Yeah.
movie itself is bleak and bland and full of nothing, and there's just no drama here. And it's like the counterpart to him in this movie is Mark Coleman, who's his friend. He would have been a more interesting story to tell, but it's like they didn't even know what story they wanted to tell. It seemed like they were trying
Yeah.
to tell this story of like UFC and the up and coming and what that was, but instead of focusing on multiple different fighters, they focused it through this portal of Mark Kerr, who The Rock plays, and it just didn't
Yep.
work. And I thought all the performances were fine. I thought Emily Blunt was great, but the
Exactly.
movie was boring, and that
Yeah.
was a big disappointment for me. Did you see that one?
Yes, I have it as a 3 as well, if I remember correctly. So
Okay.
it was a good movie with good directing and good acting. It was the wrong, like the character's boring. Like
Boring.
I just don't care about him. Like there's nothing, and they kind of brush over the substance abuse stuff. Like it's just, I don't know. It just felt like they chose the wrong character. I think you had it right.
But and the thing I don't understand about that substance abuse is that's the most interesting part of the story, because that's the thing you
Mhm.
have to build in order for him to come back. And we won't care that he loses in the second round of this tournament. We
Yeah.
ultimately care that he fought his way back. And here's the thing. They almost did it like he had a substance abuse, but it was like maybe for just a smidget of time. And
Mhm.
and if that was the case, it's like, well, kudos for, not exaggerating his story, but pick a better character so that we have
Yeah.
some type of drama to cling to. So
Yep.
that was directed by Benny Safdie, and unfortunately his
Yep.
brother got the best of him this year. So, and we'll get
For
to
sure.
that movie, here in the next segment here. So Will, those are our bottom 3. Let's start filling out our top 10 list. Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right, the first movie just on the docket, I just was curious if you've seen. I doubt it's on our top 10, but it was a fun movie, I thought. The Long Walk. I thought this was a year for horror films.
Yeah, I didn't get to this one.
Oh, really? Out of the 100, you
Yeah.
didn't get to this one.
Right. Yeah.
It's based on a Stephen King novel.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's just this idea, the last person to walk survives or keep walking, and everybody else, if they don't keep a certain pace, they die. But, something like that. And, it's not necessarily one location because they're constantly moving, but they're on a
Yeah.
road, right? So I just thought, a lot of times those movies can go poorly. This was a fun watch, and if you get a chance, you should definitely, circle back around and check this one out. So,
Yeah, definitely on the watch list. Just one of the ones I didn't get to.
all right, well, next movie I want to put up on the docket, and I know how you feel about these, is the biopicture of Bruce Springsteen. And it does star a gentleman that we like, Jeremy Allen White,
Yeah.
who is an above average actor, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In maybe just a subpar type of movie. Where were you at
Yeah.
with Springsteen?
So I don't know if this is going to be a common theme, but I wonder if the 35 movies you watched are movies I didn't.
Oh my god!
Because I didn't watch this one either.
Well, let me
yeah.
just ask you this. Let me just ask you this. I knew I was flirting with a disaster here because I know you're not big into these biopics, and there's
Yeah.
some more coming down the road. Like we're getting ready to get
Yep.
Michael Jackson, which
Yep.
I think that one is with with what's going on right now in the world with Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious if they're gonna treat that one like Smashing Machine did with Mark Kerr, and you know what I mean? Are they?
Mm-hmm.
I think a biopic is best when they treat it fairly and say, "Look, this is something that exists in the zeitgeist. Here's whatever evidence we have of it. He's still massively loved, and what does it say about us, the person, who still kind of chooses to turn a blind eye here
Yeah.
to support and celebrate?" So,
Yeah.
let me just ask this: since you didn't watch it, do you have to have a love affair with the person the biopic is about in order to enjoy it?
I think that helps. I think it would have helped too if it was better received. Because it was kind of like sitting at that in the top 10 of things I wanted to watch, but just never crept up
Yeah.
because it didn't get nominated for anything. If it had at least gotten like an actor award, I probably would have ended up watching it. But it just, I didn't get to it.
And the other thing is like I respect Bruce Springsteen. He's just not on my playlist. Like I've got like
Yeah.
maybe two songs that would go on there if I put them on there. You know what I mean? But like
Right.
I've heard them a billion times. They are what they are. They're great. I think he's like in a great. You could argue he's in a top 10 of like great American artists of like just when you think of an American artist, you could
Yeah.
go there because he's got huge success. He's just not a guy that maybe it's because he's never really been in the news for anything negative, which is good. But when you want to watch a biopic, you want something to grip you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel like we're just a little bit too young too. Like it's the generation, it's the 10 years older. Maybe we're huge Springsteen fans.
Yeah. No, you're right. That's what it is. If this is the Xennials, as they call them, the 75 to 84 range. So let's move on. Will, I did not watch this one. I'm sure you did. Superman.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I did watch this one. It's number 27 on my list.
Okay.
I have 40 movies up on my screen that are in my top 40, and
Okay.
those are all 4-star or better. So just to give you some perspective, 40 of my 100 films were 4-star or better, right? So
That is quite a
Superman,
perspective.
yeah. So Superman is a good movie. I've got problems. All the superhero movies are kind of leaning into this multiverse theory, right? Where you've got different universes, but you have the superheroes kind of interwoven through them. And like the Avengers can affect other universes, and Superman can affect another universe. It just doesn't work, man. There's enough problems in the one universe. And
Yeah.
it just bugs me when you start getting into that other stuff. But by itself, Superman, I thought was very good.
I will say this to kick back at you. Like, I agree with you. You overcomplicate things, and when you're not executing on those overcomplications, it falls short. If ever they get it right, you know what I mean? Where things feel tight knit, and you're like, "Holy crap, that worked!" It's going to work so extreme that it could be everything you wanted, these movies to be. So, James Gunn directed that. I know he's been living heavily in the comic book world for the last 15, 20 years. So that is kind of his thing right now. I didn't watch it. I'm glad you did, though. Let's move on. Will, the movie is called Train Dreams. Did you see this? This is a Netflix movie with Joel
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yeah, so before you kind of brought this to my attention, the whole change in topic or change in structure of the show,
Yeah.
I was kind of prepped to talk about my top 10 in two tiers.
Okay.
The my 5 stars and my 4.5 stars.
Okay.
And
So time out.
so
Let's stop
train
right there real quick.
yeah.
The, your two tiers, because 1 through 10 are five, 4.5. That's your range, right?
Yeah, so I've got 4 5-star movies this year.
Okay. I
And
have
then
two.
the Okay. The other 6 are 4.5. I have more 4.5, but these 6 are the ones where if I were to watch them again, they could creep up. So
Okay.
Train Dreams, get back to Train Dreams. Train Dreams is number 6 on my list this year.
It
Um,
is number 5 on mine.
nice. Um, yeah, there's something, I don't know. It was deeply melancholic. I mean, that's the most
Yep.
obvious thing to say. Joel Edgerton's performance is one of my favorite of the last 10 years, 15 years ever. I just thought he was perfect in this. I thought the film was so fascinating because it sits in the pain. It doesn't have resolution, right? It just kind of lets him feel the hard parts of the life, and it positions it in such a way that it kind of deals with how small we are
Yeah.
in a very important way, because he still finds some joy along the way, right? By the time we get to the end, there's a little bit of joy for him, but it knows that it's fleeting. And when a film is willing to do that and not give you the swell at the end where he refines love, I thought the movie was really, really good.
Yeah, Clint Bentley is the director of this one. I don't know Clint Bentley just like top of brain. I'd have to click on his name here in Letterboxd to kind of see his and I'm sure maybe there's some other movies there, maybe I haven't. Um, but what I love is what this first person on Letterboxd said to review. It says, "What a privilege and a curse it is to be able to just feel." And that's this movie in a nutshell. I mean, you're right. It is a movie about trying to, after life is delivered like its most incredible blow that you can have by stripping you of your purpose, not work,
Yeah,
right? Your
yeah,
meaning in life. And in this case,
yeah.
Joel Edgerton's, um, it's Felicity Jones, it's his daughter, it's his wife. Once that life has been stripped from him, and this idea that he's got to continue to go on, the ability to somehow maintain a presence, just maintaining being present so that you
Yeah.
can enjoy those moments whenever they are, few and far between, whenever they are, wherever they show their face. You know what I mean? This movie does a really good job of just saying, hey, look, even when you're going through it, we still find moments to laugh at the ridiculous. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
there's just might be the most human movie on my top 10 list, and one that normally gets higher up on the
Hmm.
list for me. I only kept it at 5 simply because I like melancholy, but the
Mm.
whole movie had kind of one level, and you just
Yeah.
kind of went on the journey with this gentleman.
Yeah.
I love this movie. And this is a
Yeah.
movie that's melancholy, but I will watch time and time again. I'll come back to it every so often just because
Yeah.
it is exactly what I love in films. So
Exactly. Yep.
it felt
100%.
like it felt like the Tree of Life if it had more of a narrative plot structure. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Well, the one thing I just want to mention that we didn't really talk about is how important the setting is here. Just the idea, like there's a part where he's
nature.
talking with yeah, well, not just that, but the very specific idea of like glaciers. Like the woman at the end, I can't remember her name in the movie. She's the forest ranger. She talks about the glaciers and how, 10,000 years ago this whole valley was created by the glaciers, and it just puts so perfectly into perspective how much we take life for granted,
Yeah.
that we exist in these moments, and to place it in that the overall arc of the earth, in our tiny little speck
Yeah.
of existence. I just think it was the right choice. So
Yeah. I think it was the right choice. They do a great job of, they do that big, umbrella approach where you're looking at it from a big perspective, but there's also the changing of times and the minute too, from axes to chainsaws, and the
Yeah.
transitioning effect there, and just you could look at it now from an AI perspective and just how that's changing things, and you could find yourself
It's doing
in
that
a
thing.
blue collar job being
That goes.
weeded out because of AI coming in. So like there's just, even though it's very specific in its time frame, it can
Yeah.
adapt and be a part of anything. So I'm glad you and I both had that one on there, buddy. I'm really glad because it spoke and resonated with me. Just a couple other films by Clint Bentley. He hasn't made a lot. So it looks like Jockey, 9 races, and I'll remember everything. So he's a fairly young guy.
Mm,
Looks like he's really just getting his footing. So it'd be interesting to see what he does as a follow-up with all the success now.
yeah, for sure.
All right. That one makes the list. Will, Wicked for Good, the sequel to Wicked, which was hugely successful last year. Did you
Yeah,
get a chance to see this one?
I sure did.
And thoughts?
Uh, too choppy, right?
Yeah,
It just the pieces don't add up the right way.
at
I
all.
thought some of the scenes were just fine. I thought some of the scenes were really good. I mean, Cynthia Erivo, if she, I hope when I die, that's what you see in heaven, right? Because, or at least here, because
Yeah.
holy shit, she's got the best voice. But I mean, the movie, as a movie, it just doesn't work the right way.
Yeah, I love what they're trying to do. Like, I love this idea of mixing the Wizard of Oz with that world and things of the nature. Like, I love Dorothy being the one. I love that. They just
Yeah,
didn't they didn't connect, dot the I's and cross their T's there as much as they should
right.
have. It became almost, unfortunately, when you love something and you want it to be this great
Yeah,
thing, it became kind of comical when Dorothy is locked in the cellar and they're out there, just kind of
yeah,
talking amongst themselves, and meanwhile this girl is still locked away, and that became like
yeah.
a comical part that people took from the movie. And you don't all I can say is that as a director, as all parties involved, that's not something you want to be a talking point when they leave there, right?
Right.
So,
Exactly. And I think it's pretty well accepted that this movie didn't work because I'm married to a wicked fanatic, and
oh really?
she was even critical of the second film. So,
Well, this goes back to adapted screenplays and purists and things of that nature. They're in
yeah.
every medium. Also, the idea, and this has been said on the big picture, should it have been just one movie? What do you think?
Yeah,
If it
it's
is, does
tough
it hurt
because,
the first one?
well, that's the thing is I think the first movie's actually very good.
Oh, the first
So
one's great.
I just wonder if the second movie, it just feels, I I really think it's an editing issue. I
Okay.
think it really comes down to it feeling like scenes pieced together rather than a flowing narrative. So I don't think that's the right critique.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on. Keep rolling here. Will, did you get a chance to watch Apple TV's F1? Did hit
Sure did.
theaters.
Yeah, so
Did it land on your top 10 list?
no, it is not on my top 10. I do have it at 4.5 stars. But it's one of the ones that, because I do have 15 4.5 stars, or above. Um, it's one of the ones that I know can't be a 5-star movie, but in my heart, it's a 4.5. Like
Yeah.
I want it to be a 5, but it can't quite
Yeah.
get there
Yeah.
because I do think it's the perfect sports movie. I think that movies are often limited because
Okay.
they are just a sports movie, and sports can only take you so far. So I guess my main critique of the film is just it can't take that next step,
Okay.
but it's still very good.
Do you have any sports movies at the top of your head that would be a 5? Like, I would think Remember the Titans is a 5. I would think For the Love of the Game maybe possibly is 4.5, 5. To
Yeah,
me, when the stakes feel the highest,
yeah,
you know what I mean? That's when
hmm,
sports movies can really come through. Hoosiers, things of
yeah,
these nature.
yeah.
Uh, I don't know that this movie, which by the way, just for noting, is number 8 for me on my list.
Oh,
Okay,
nice.
I I loved the theatrical experience of this movie. And you're totally right. It's one of those movies that I kind of fought with. It's higher up on my list mainly because the theatrical experience of this was
Mm,
so amazing. And to at the end of the day, that's what I want, right? I want
Right.
to feel like these movies are events. I want to feel immersed in the environment. I know nothing about F1. They did a phenomenal job of making me feel like I could at least understand all the parties and all the moving pieces. The other thing
Yeah.
that this movie did a really good job of is, you give me Brad Pitt, which is this awesome, Americana piece of pop culture actor that's been with us forever, and he nails it. This is Top Gun
Hmm.
Maverick from 3 years ago, right? This is
Sure.
what that
Yep.
is in last year. But instead of giving us a well-known Miles Teller, they give us Damson Idris. Now, maybe he's more well-known to others than he is to me, but I thought he
Mm.
did a phenomenal job, mainly because it introduced me to him and he held his own, right? So, like,
Sure.
I just thought the movie complemented itself with with the casting in which they did. You're right.
Yeah.
There's this isn't a perfect movie, but
Yeah.
it is a perfect theatrical experience, and for that, I did give it a 4. With that being said, I do think I should give the caveat that I did not find 2025 to be a great movie year.
Mm.
Um, I find a lot of 3.5s on my list, a
Mm.
lot of swing and misses, things that at times hit, but this one stood out to me because of that. So that's kind of
Okay.
where I'm at. That's my caveat, and I really enjoyed F1 overall, especially. Now, I will say, I don't believe, Will, if I'm correct, that it was even nominated for an Oscar for cinematography, which I think is a crying shame because I thought it
Yeah.
really felt like we were in the car with them.
Right. No, I mean, I think it's up for visual effects.
Okay.
But as far as cinematography goes, I think you're right. Which is unfortunate. It's interesting that you said 2025 was a down movie year for you because I thought this year was great.
Really?
I
Wow.
really like I mean, it's pretty evident in I've got 44-star
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah. Now
So
you generally do grade a little easier than me, but
sure.
you've got deep. You said
Yeah.
40, right? You went 40 deep with
Yeah.
4 stars. That's
Yeah.
impressive. I'm not even nowhere near that. Granted, I only
Yeah.
watched 40 movies.
Well, yeah, I mean, I am a little bit kinder than you in my ratings for sure. But I mean, I don't know. I had a hard time with my top 10 because
Really?
I've got so many movies that I wanted to throw and talk about. So,
Okay. Okay. Well, let's get to
but
more then. Let's get to more of that
yeah,
list. Will, Secret Agent. I didn't watch this. You didn't watch this. Not too much we can say about it, but from what I wanted to, I want to see this film. They did a really
yeah.
good job. It is nominated for Best Picture award, and this is the movie with Wagner, who's up for the Best
Hmm.
Picture or Best Actor. So I just didn't get to it because of the price point, and by the time I got to it, that's why. So what was
Yeah.
the reason you couldn't get to it?
Yeah, I mean, my limited time means I watch a lot of movies at home. And this one was the one, like, I watched Hamnet and Sentimental Value down the stretch. And those I bought them both. I didn't rent them both because the
Yeah,
price difference was pretty small. And that was $50.
yeah,
So, I've only got so much I can throw.
yep.
Not getting paid for this yet.
All right, this is where I'm going to throw the nod over to you here, Will. Spend time on both these movies I did not see, so I'm going to throw out 2 of them right now: 28 Days Later and Mission Impossible: The Reckoning. I know those are both in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Tell me what your thoughts just were on them overall.
Yeah, so Mission Impossible, I'll talk about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning at first because it's number 15 on my list. That movie I think has some rightful detractors. I do think that some of it feels a little the first half is a lot of recap stuff. It's a lot of like, hey, this is what happened last time, or this is what happened in 1996 if you didn't remember, because it's a 20-year-old franchise,
Yeah,
almost 30 years, right?
it's in
So
30 because I think it was
he's been,
1996, right, or 7.
yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of culmination here that in the first half feels a little I don't know, built for the audience who might not have seen all of these, right? Like, hey, this is what's going on, just so you're caught up, right? Which hurts the movie, I think. But the second half, I will always argue that these movies are more than just action movies, especially the last three, because I think that they start to fully understand Ethan Hunt and the individual hero that saves the day, right? And it's not necessarily something that's realistic. I think
Yeah.
it catches up to Ethan by the end. So I thought that this movie worked pretty well. I mean, more than pretty well. I've got it 4.5 stars. What am I talking about? So
He
I
kind of
think it's
learns of his
mostly
like his mortality, right? It essentially, where like
exactly.
Bond is just this ever changing figure who cannot ever learn of his mortality.
Yeah,
It's it's great that
yeah,
the things that you thought this was never going to be, eventually they get
right.
to a place where they're like he has to be faced with these decisions that he's been
Yeah,
making over a course of 7, 8 movies. So
yeah. Ironically, he does not die at the end of this, but James Bond did die at the end of the last James Bond movie. So, um,
and like
uh,
Frankenstein, he will arise.
right. But then for 28 years later, this is a 5 star movie for me. It's my number three. Uh, it's it's way more than a zombie movie. It's so interested in family and death and reckoning with death and reckoning with what the world has, especially Britain, right? Because the scope of this movie is through Great Britain, right? The island is cordoned off from the rest of the world because of this outbreak. And 28 years later, what's it look like? And it's interested in Brexit. It's interested in you know walling yourself off from the rest of the world and what happens to you when you do it. It's interested in um what happens when you don't have faith in medicine and the medicine goes away. What happens to people? What happens to people who have cancer? It's interested in this young boy reckoning with his mother's death and dying. And there's, I mean, not to spoil anything for you, Robert, but
Go
he
ahead, buddy.
the yeah, Ray Fiennes, you know, kills Jodie Comer in this film because it's the right move because she has cancer, right?
Yeah.
She's suffering. So he takes away that suffering and he literally strips away everything besides her skull. And the boy in this film, Alfie Williams, who's incredible, places his mother's skull on a pile of skulls right at the very top. And I just thought that for a movie to do this and not be ashamed of like chasing, it's not trying to be clickbaity, it's just trying to say like, hey, you know we're all going to face this someday. And to have it work so well, I can't get over this movie. So yeah,
Now this is the
it's
third
my number
this
three.
this is the third installment of this movie, right? There's 28
Correct.
days, weeks, and now years, correct? Um,
That's right.
Danny Boyle did all three, correct?
No, the first and third.
First and third. Um, what I always find curious is that I haven't heard anybody say anything but love for this movie. I'm curious why it's dropped a little bit on Letterboxd over the past year. What are the issues, if any, why it would be at a 3.4?
Well, I think part of it is I would say that there's probably a large contingent of horror films, like film fanatics, that don't really think this adds up to being a great horror movie, which they might be right. Um, I think that there's also a part in this movie where a zombie gives birth to a baby, and the
Okay.
baby is not a zombie, right?
Okay.
So it's fucking weird, man.
Yeah.
It's a weird movie that
Yeah.
if you go into it with like expectations of getting this straightforward, like how are we going to survive the zombies, like that's not what this film is.
Yeah.
So
Well, I was just curious. It is something that I will watch. I got to be honest with you. I'm more open to horror now than ever before. This, I thought, even though it was a down year for me in films overall, I thought it was top heavy. I don't even think it was top heavy. I thought there was like two really fantastic films. I thought there was a handful of like next level that were just knocking on the door, and then everything else was just kind of all together for me.
mm,
But I do think the horror films, at least in that genre, really stood out this year. There was a lot. The Long Walk. You've got Sinners. You've got Weapons. You've got. Some people argued whether or not I don't think Begonia is one that's a different sci-fi, kind
yeah.
of playing around with that. The list kind of goes on and on. Excuse me. 28 years later, things of that nature. So I thought it was a very strong even Frankenstein,
Hmm.
originated in that world. So I thought it was a really strong horror world, and I sometimes horror is tackling some of the more complicated issues in our
Right.
society that maybe they're kind of allowed to do it because they can play with the structure of it. And if you make a straightforward drama on Brexit, it
Yeah.
might feel like you are making a divisive stand on something and you might lose
Sure.
half your audience right away, as we'll talk about when we get to something like One Battle After Another and things of that
Sure.
nature. So I think it's been an incredible year for horror. So I'm going to use that as a transition to talk about this movie, Will. And the movie is Weapons. Where did you find your experience this year with the movie Weapons? Because to me, I couldn't believe how high this kept going on my list. I kept thinking, it came out early. I think it was a May watch, maybe June.
Mm.
It was slightly after Sinners. Sinners had all its success early in, I think, March or April of last year,
Yeah.
and it really. I thought for a while there, people were debating which one they even enjoyed more, was Weapons or Sinners. And I think as I sat with it more personally, I put Weapons at 4. That's how high it got
Mm.
up my list, Will. Where are you at
Nice.
with the movie Weapons?
It's right at number 4 for me too.
Oh my gosh, look at us, buddy.
Yeah.
Look at us. Tell me why.
Oh, I mean, it's the same thing that whenever a horror movie really works for me, it's when it is dealing with something bigger than exactly what's going on the screen, right? Um, I thought that this movie, the director had lost a friend, a pretty close friend, prior to making this film. So I think if you kind of view this movie from that lens, and think about this movie as kind of being a catharsis for like killing the demon, right? Killing the witch, like expelling all of this pain in a community when you are dealing with loss. It really starts to make sense. I also think that it does a really good job of being Lynchian in the right moments, like
Yeah.
kind of that 28 or 28 Twin Peaks. It's got that vibe of like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And it does a really good job of having some unanswerable questions, right? Like especially the Josh Brolin dream scene where
Yeah.
it's like there's something going on here, but I can't put my finger on it. When a movie can do that right, I think it's almost always the right move. So I just thought overall the film did a great job through and through of letting you laugh when you felt like you needed to laugh, but also like having some serious moments of like being terrified for these kids. So
Have you seen Ozark yet? I know you didn't see it for.
mm-mm.
You got to watch it, mainly for the
Yeah,
fact of what's your reluctancy with that? Because I feel like if you thought it was good enough, you would have watched it by now.
it's that there's 4 seasons.
Too
I
little,
missed
too
the
too much.
too much. Yeah,
Oh, see,
yeah,
that's where I start. Is 4 seasons? I'm in. That's where I
yeah.
start. You are someone who likes to okay, so you're consuming as much as you can in small doses.
Yeah, like if I like to watch stuff that's on,
Okay,
right? Like right now. Like I've
I am the
fallen behind.
total opposite of that. That's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yep. Like even with The Bear, like season 4 was a year ago now and I haven't watched it yet. I don't know if I'll keep going. I love
Really,
The
so
Bear.
you've moved
Yeah.
on.
Maybe.
Wow, Will is
I
a
don't know.
total miniseries guy. Then, Julia Garner.
Yeah.
She is the reason I bring up Ozark is she's from
Yeah.
Ozark, obviously, but it's 4 seasons of Walter White and Jesse Breaking Bad. I mean, she's nailing it for 4 seasons in that TV
Yeah.
show. She escalates that show to something completely next level. And I mean, Bateman and they
Yeah.
do a great, fantastic job, and the story is interesting and all these things. But it is her you are captivated with every time she's on the damn screen. She's only in this movie for the first third of it, and
Yeah.
she sets the damn tone, and it's so
Sure.
much
Yeah.
fun. And then her performance gets out by an Amy Madigan, who is,
Hmm.
for those that it took me a minute as I was watching, and I'm like, is this the mother from Field of Dreams? I'm like, what is
Yeah.
happening here? Totally never saw it. It was so one of one though, Will. Her interpretation of what that character should look like. I just
Yeah.
felt fresh to me. The whole movie just felt fresh. And
Right.
I'm not a horror fan, and it really made me want to see weapons too. You know what I mean? So, and Josh
Yeah.
Brolin was great. So to me, the movie was awesome. You loved it. I loved it. Theatrical experience for me. Number four for you as well. Let's move on. Let's talk about Will. We've talked about the Smashing Machine already. Let's talk about this other movie called House of Dynamite. This is a
Yeah.
Netflix movie. This was done. The director is slipping my mind, but she's the same one that did
Catherine
the.
Bigelow.
Thank you, Catherine Bigelow. Yes.
Yeah.
This is in my head. I always will remember her as James Cameron's ex-wife. So, Will, House of
Yeah.
Dynamite. We've talked a little bit off screen about the goods and the bads of that movie. Where did it end up? Did it make your list at all?
Yeah, so it's not in my 4 stars or above. And
Okay.
it's interesting that we're talking about this right after Weapons because it kind of has that same structure, right? Where it kind of comes to you in 3 different parts.
Yep.
And I think it's the exact inverse here of Weapons because Weapons, as much as I love Julia Garner in this film, it the it adds together, right? The second part adds to the first, and the third part adds to the whole in
Yep.
Weapons. In House of Dynamite, it does the exact opposite. The
Yep.
second act strips away the first, tension that's built with Rebecca Ferguson, which, I thought was the first act of this movie is perfect.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get to the third act, all the good shit fell away. There's
Yep.
nothing left. And the only thing that you can kind of argue here is that Catherine Bigelow is doing this on purpose to like kind of poke at the viewer a little bit and say, how bad do you want to see this explosion? How bad do you want all these people to die?
But I
And
think that is what the point is, Will. Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
that's kind of where I've settled on it is that so this was the first movie out of my honorable mention. This is number 14 for me.
yeah,
And I at one point I had it as high as 9. And it's not that it's because I agree with everything you've said. I almost to the point where I almost feel like they did themselves a disservice by doing it the structure in which the way they did, because if that movie sits on Rebecca Ferguson the entire time, she's the
yeah,
thing that's bringing this movie credibility. You feel it in her face. You feel it in every way in which she's doing it, where Idris Elba, unfortunately, just never gets there. And he's the
right,
one that's got the most of the responsibility on his shoulders in the sense of in the public eye.
yeah,
We should feel it more, you know? Um,
right,
but I think that's what it is. I think it's every part of who we are on social media. We have these weird obsessions. It's the weatherman complex. I've talked about this quite a bit with some other friends, and when we're debating politics and a thing of the nature, it's just the weatherman complex is you've never seen someone with a bigger smile talking about doomsday scenarios. And that's the
yeah,
weatherman because majority of his job is boring as hell. And then all of a sudden he gets thrown a hurricane or a blizzard and he wants to talk about it because now he's
yeah,
working for the first time. And you can see the
right,
joy and the passion on his face. But at the same time, as the ship is going down, you don't want somebody, smiling at you as it's happening. And I feel like we watch these things because we kind of had this morbid curiosity of what happens. And for
yeah,
the longest time, I used to think that nobody would ever press the button. We would never really actually get into a nuclear thing. Here's where I changed my mind on that. I think some old bitter dictator who just wants to see the world burn, you know what I mean? On his
yeah,
way out, I see no reason why he wouldn't press a button like that. Just to because he doesn't have to stick around and deal with it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So I think I've kind of settled there. That's what my point is I feel like it's 14 for me, didn't make the list, but I do think that
yeah,
that's what she's going for. I ultimately was right there with you and I came back to it. Um,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you just gotta have to have that opinion, I guess. So no worries.
yeah. I
We
think,
move.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Anything else?
Oh, I was just gonna add. I think you're. I think if I were to rewatch this, I'd move it up a little bit. But I do think it just because of the way Idris Elba
It's so bad.
treats his role in the third
Yeah.
act, it could never get over the hump. So
He brings nothing to that third act that feels important, feels stakes are the highest. He just brings nothing. I don't feel
right,
he even. Yeah. I'm with
yeah.
you. I might talk
So
myself out of it if I don't. So we move on. We move on. Will, let's talk about one movie that definitely knew it was going to have a divisive audience, definitely knew that it was playing with the narrative of what we thought were tropes, okay? Were these guys Republican? Were they Democrat? Who was the Democrat in this movie? Who's the Republican? More importantly, who's the conservative versus who's the liberal minded? And that movie's
Yeah.
Eddington, Will.
Mm.
Eddington. Did you get a chance to see this movie?
Yeah. Yep. Sure did.
The floor
Um,
is yours, Fred.
well, honestly, this is one of those movies. It's in my top 10. It's my number 10 movie of the year.
Okay, it is my
I
number.
love.
It is my number 7.
Okay, so I love Ari Aster because he pushes on shit and it works 95% of the time.
Yep.
I think when Beau Was Afraid came out, you had it in your top 10 and I didn't because that didn't work quite as well for me.
Yeah.
But here he's my review of this movie was immediate top 10 film that I'll never watch again because I hated it. I hated the experience of watching this because it's so real.
It's so real.
He captures something so perfectly in this movie about the way that we talk at each other that it almost hurt, right? And then you get to the end and you realize that by that the whole thing is just we're fighting each other, but there's this evil entity that just keeps growing and growing and growing and no one gives a shit about it, right? Like we keep paying our Amazon subscription, we keep going to Walmart to buy our groceries because we care about convenience and we care about doing the best thing for ourselves. So regardless of what your political opinion is, we're fucked anyway. So I'm with you. This movie, it belongs in the top 10. I just don't know if I could ever watch it again.
You'd be a martyr to watch it again because you're right. There's so many characters in this movie I viscerally hate. I viscerally hate the boy who is so easily influenced by the first experience in life he's ever had that it happens to also be blonde. I viscerally hate the blonde who's missed what the actual point of the mission statement is, yelling and screaming and thinking she's on the righteous side of something, but so overcorrecting that it makes somebody who should be her ally, not her ally, and stuck in the middle paralyzed, which is the common man. Then that's before you even get to the two Paul Mescal and Joaquin Phoenix, who are just hitting home runs in their performance. There is an interesting thing about Ari Aster to me that I just love. You said most of it works and some things don't. You're right, most of it works, and I think he's the bravest filmmaker going right now because he's just throwing shit at the wall and doing it with a mirror and saying, "You watch yourself. If you don't like it, it's something you don't like that we're doing." And I find him to be on a whole other level. I know you were a big fan of Hereditary. And so it's interesting to see what he's going to do next. So, well,
for sure.
Number 7 for me, number 10 for you. I want to kind of jump to another one if we can here. This movie, for me, I did not watch this one, but I just think it's something that we need to acknowledge that exists. It's The Return of Daniel Day-Lewis. Did you get a chance to sit down with the anemone?
I did not, unfortunately.
That's telling to me, and I will tell you why.
Yeah.
You a big Daniel Day-Lewis fan?
I'd say not big, but I will watch this someday. Yes.
Do you buy into the idea that he could be possibly the world's best living actor?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I do too. And that still wasn't enough. He came out of retirement. It still really wasn't enough. So that means, unfortunately, what we've heard about this film is the thing that's made us not watch this film yet. I think that's really the only thing that needs to be said about it.
Yeah, it also doesn't help though that this movie is made by his son, right?
Yeah.
If this is made by, if he'd come back to work with someone he hadn't worked with before, and we're like, oh, I wonder what X
Ari
director
Aster
can bring.
And Daniel Day-Lewis will do
what
together.
does he bring out of Daniel Day-Lewis that we haven't seen before? Here it's kind of like, like a movie that's being okay received, but it's by his son, so that he's in it because his son's doing it. Like, I don't know. There's just a lot of other baggage that comes with it. Will I watch this movie someday? Yes. Do I think it deserved my to be on my top 10 list? Probably not. So that's why I
Yeah.
skipped it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on, Will. Another Netflix movie that came out this past year. I believe it was Netflix. Jay Kelly. Now, this is a stacked cast here. You've got George Clooney.
For
You got
sure.
Adam Sandler, and the list goes on and on. Will, your viewing experience, it did not crack my top 10. I found it to be enjoyable. It felt like a very safe movie. I feel like Clooney
Yeah.
is, this felt like a safe movie for him to
Yeah.
kind of return back to the public eye in a bigger way again. But I did think Adam Sandler brought something to this that he's proven that he can do now. And I think he's
For sure.
proven he can do it for 20 years, but I just think a lot of people are so stuck in his comedy that they don't realize what he can bring to a
Yeah.
movie. I liked it. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
That's kind of where
Well,
I was at with
that's,
Jay Kelly.
one of the things I've kind of been thinking about, is how lenient I am on some of these grades, right? I I gave this 4 stars because
Me too.
I really did like it, and I thought it ended well.
Me
Like,
too.
I thought the last, half an hour was very good. And so I ended up giving this 4 stars, but it's one of those things where, like, maybe if I was being a little more critical, maybe if I was, someone that had to do this for a living, I
Yeah.
give this 3.5 stars, three, somewhere, maybe even 3, because I do think there's flaws with the film. I don't love the chemistry between Adam Sandler and George Clooney. I thought it was a little weak. I didn't necessarily believe that these guys were, like, known each other for 40 years, right?
Yeah. Well, it was very, and maybe that was the point, but like I think a lot of it had to
Yeah.
do with Clooney's character. Clooney is just
Yeah.
kind of cold,
Yep.
and Sandler's kind of pathetic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's
Yep.
doing it for a job, but he kind of gets when he realizes the whole time that he's felt like just a job. I guess the
Mhm.
transformation from Clooney to where he starts the movie and where he ends up, it ultimately works,
Yeah.
but it could have been fabric, deeper in the fabric.
Exactly. I think that's the exact right point, because you want to be along on the ride with him, because it's George Clooney, and he is he's the weirdest movie star, because if you really sit down and look at all them, watching that retrospective from all of his actual films was interesting,
Yeah,
because, like, if that was Brad Pitt, you'd be able to name every movie.
yeah,
But with, when you're watching George Clooney, it's like, which one is that again?
yeah.
You
See,
know?
I think I had maybe a deeper love affair than maybe
Oh,
you
okay.
do. I
Maybe.
feel like
Yeah.
I could get without thinking, I could probably name 10 movies of his. Um,
Mm.
but you're right though. With him, it's always he's kind of disappeared. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And maybe it's because true to Jay Kelly, he was trying to navigate the streaming and what he wanted it to look like, and it no
Yeah.
longer felt. And politically, he's been on kind of the pulse of politics too, but he's also been
Yeah.
in comedic roles and things of that nature. He just feels like he disappeared. He got all that love in the late 2000s for some of the movies
Yep.
that he made, Michael Clayton and things of those choices, and then it just kind of he disappeared on us. So he's a weird
Right.
one.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. So I guess the point I'm just trying to make is, like, even if you can name the movies, like, he doesn't have the 5-star resume, right? He's got a couple of 5 stars,
He's
maybe, like Michael Clayton, Ocean's 11, maybe Ocean's 12 if you really like that movie,
yeah,
right? But
yeah.
outside that, everything else is just kind of good.
Yeah, it's funny because I love like those aren't even my favorite movies of his. Like I love you're right. Here I am. I've said I could name them, and now I'm put on the spot. Descendants is a good movie for me. I really
Yep.
liked his role in
That's a
that.
good one.
But he's not. He's a safe actor. He's playing George
Yeah.
Clooney, Up in the Air, Anna Kendrick. I love those movies.
Yeah.
I love the movies he's a part of. It's just he's the same in all of them, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So
100%.
okay, well let's move on. Will a movie which was the last movie that I just watched this evening. It was the last movie I watched of 2025, and that is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Will, you're a Guillermo guy, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. What'd you think of Frankenstein?
Thought that Jacob Elordi was great. Thought that as soon as it becomes about him, the movie is very, very good. And everything before that, I just didn't care. I didn't.
Really?
I didn't think Oscar Isaac was very good. I thought he was overacting. I thought that I thought that if you're going to tell a story that everyone knows by heart, it
Yeah.
better transcend, and it didn't. I think my review was like, this is the there's of the last 5 years, this is not the best Frankenstein movie.
Well, it's not, because Poor Things
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
and that's just because that's a once in a generation film. They hit
right.
that one out of the ballpark. I I settled on number 11 for this with me.
Oh, okay.
This is my first honorable mention. Again, my catalog not as deep as yours this year, so I get to another 60 movies on the watch. I'm sure it finds its way out of it. But with that being said, I did find myself enjoying more aspects of it than I did. I'll tell you right now what I don't like. I the things that knock it down for me, it's just so digital. Everything's so damn digital these days, right?
Yeah,
And I get it. You get to create these worlds and they can change shapes, especially when they get to the towers. It's clean. It's just easier to
yeah,
do that in special effects and do it online than it is to build these things and make them practical. But you lose something, man. The whole movie feels like you're just losing something. It feels like you're detached from these worlds they're creating rather than being immersively involved.
yeah.
Um, that being said, everything you said is the complete opposite of how I feel in this movie. The complete opposite. I I think you're a big fan of Oscar Isaac, right? You
I
love
am.
that one movie Inside Llewyn Davis. Eh,
Yeah,
that's how I felt. You love it though, and I know you're an Oscar Isaac fan, and I think he's particularly fine in Dune. I don't. This was by far my favorite Oscar Isaac performance. I
hmm.
love the over the topness because I thought he was supposed to be. Now, I don't think he necessarily gets to the level of mad scientist that I want him to get to in the third act or second and third act, but I think he's pretty
Yeah,
damn close. I love the first act of this. I thought it was a bold choice, Will, a bold choice to have Frankenstein, the monster, narrate the second act of this movie.
yeah.
Um, I get it. He's learned. He's fluent now. He's too fluent for me. And I
Oh,
love
okay.
Jacob Elordi all of a sudden. Like, I just saw him Wuthering Heights. I could have been nobody perfectly casted there. I seen him in Saltburn. Thought he was great in that. I thought he was fine as Frankenstein.
Hmm.
I thought them making that's where the movie's second act for me is when I was like, I loved I loved the story with the old man. I thought they connected all the dots. I thought everything made sense.
Yeah,
So I really enjoyed the movie. I thought Jacob Elordi, I thought he was fine. I just thought that was a bold choice by the
hmm.
by the movie to make this guy narrate his own story. So,
Yeah.
but
Interesting.
we move on, my friend. Let's talk about the movie I did not get to, Begonia. Make its case. Did it find its way in the top 10 for you?
Yeah, so this one, I think on a rewatch, I'd end up probably liking it a touch more. It's number 16 on my list, so it's
Okay.
not like it's far off. It's my first four-star movie in my rankings. I thought that as much as I agree with Lanthimos here as the premise of this film and the general conclusion he gets to, that's not always what I want from my movies, and it didn't
Sure.
feel like the right choice here. Because what the resolution of the film, you can feel it coming, right? It's not like some big twist ending or anything. You feel the ending coming, and it all adds up and makes sense. But at the end of the day, like, I don't feel like he posits an answer. He just kind of posits like uh, this is what we're dealing with. Will you
Okay.
please look at it? And I think that works, but I feel like he's done it before,
Yeah.
right? I just feel like it's something that he's done before. I don't think he's building off of. He's just not getting it far enough for me. So I feel like because of that, it fell just short of my list.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what the third movie in a row Emma Stone's done with him now. So you've got Poor Things, Acts of Kindness, and now this one, right? Was there a fourth one in
Four,
there? Maybe I'm missing
the
four, right?
the the favorite, yeah,
Yeah. So I ultimately I think just from what I've heard that maybe they'll part ways after this just to kind of get a fresh start. But
yeah,
like it's been a really fun duo, working
yeah,
relationship because I do think Emma Stone is in the tops of the tops when it comes to the actresses of this day and age.
yeah,
She's
absolutely.
proven that to me. So I'll have to watch it. I'm excited too. I just didn't quite get to it. So Okay, well, now we're getting to the nitty gritty of the movies of the 2025 to kind of fill out our list here.
Yeah.
So, where were you at with Marty Supreme? The other Safdie, which is Josh Safdie's version or movie, Marty Supreme, starring Timothy Chalamet in this really bonkers, crazy, on the edge of your seat movie about ping pong.
Well, yes, and the anxieties and desperation that we face um, in the capitalist society we occupy, right?
Yeah, of course, of
Because
course, of
yeah,
course. Yes.
yeah. So the only so this is my number five movie.
Okay.
Um, I love this film. It has potential to, it could move up the list with another watch. I just haven't had a chance to watch it a second time. Um, I think maybe it's got my favorite thing from the year is the ping pong ball turning into an egg being seminated, right? Or the at the end the egg
Yeah.
being turning into a ping pong ball.
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant. I just thought everything that he does here is great. I loved what is the Kevin is it Kevin
Kevin
O'Leary?
O'Leary.
He- he's incredible in this, like out
Yeah.
of nowhere. Just kind of occupying that guy that you can't quite put a finger on, that you just don't like because he's got something sinister about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought everything here was great, except for the fact that I almost think he misses the point
Oh,
of
interesting.
of this character. And it's not that we should be thrilled by Marty and his journey. It's
Yeah.
that we should be scared that this is our life. This is the lot that we have to live out. That we're always scrambling for more, that we're always trying to climb a ladder. And
Yeah.
I don't think he's trying to say this is scary. I think what he's trying to say is that Marty is a hustler,
Yeah.
and that it at the end I just don't know if he gets all the way to the point that I want him to make, which is
Sure.
this sucks. And
Yeah.
I don't think he gets there. So
Um. Yeah, that's interesting. I've never even thought about it from that angle there. Because that was my only gripe. I gave this a 4.5. This is my number 3 movie of the year, and
okay.
mainly built on the backs of performances. There's
Yeah.
This is my hands down. This is everything I've ever wanted from Timothy Chalamet. I think he's evolving. He's getting it. He's starting to figure it out. I've always loved the guy because he takes chances on movies that
Yeah.
matter, and he's got a catalog at what 30 years of age that
Right.
actors would dream of having over a 30-40 year span.
Right.
I think he is following. Leonardo DiCaprio gave him some great advice once. He says, "Don't do any hard drugs, and if you can, steer clear of the comic book movies." Now he's done Dune. He's got his
Sure.
franchise, but I think the idea still holds true. Is just a sense of he's keeping his nose clean. He's picking the right projects. He's working with great directors, and it was just finally. I don't know that anybody else could have played this part. Timothy Chalamet brought a level of anxiety and anxiousness and hustling that just felt so organic to what he finally is in my eyes. He is this squirmy, smooth talking little kid that is too skinny to be pulling the Jenners of the world, but has found a way in that room because he is hustling. And that
Mm-hmm.
is what his entire career has been to me. And he's finally, just like Marty Supreme does, he finally gets his day in the sun, and at the end, and he gets this, this achievement. And whether or not it's enough, that's something that you'll discuss. That it seems like you're bringing to the table. To me, it was plenty for the film. I felt that moment as a nitpick could have been felt bigger because he's been
Mm.
chasing it the whole movie. He worked his ass to get there. He's lied,
Yeah.
cheat, and steal all these people. But neither here
Yeah.
nor there. The overall message and the overall accomplishment of the movie still, in my eyes, is great. And it introduced me to Odessa as Azion.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
wow, she was
Yeah.
such a force to match with him. I can't wait to watch more stuff with her. So I really
Yeah.
enjoyed this movie as number 3 for me.
Yeah. Right there with you.
All right, Will, why don't you do this? Why don't you tell me your honorable mention movies that I have not touched upon yet?
Okay. Okay, well, I'll try to be quick and not say too much
Yeah,
because
go ahead.
I've got a lot here. The big ones I just want to mention: Caught Stealing,
Okay.
Austin Butler, Darren Aronofsky film. I thought it was just the perfect like, oh shit, I'm in it now movie. And I thought Austin Butler was just great. Another star-making performance. I just think he's one of the good ones. Wake Up Dead Man. I just want to mention that because of Josh O'Connor's performance as the priest and the main character. I thought he was so good that it was worth mentioning. And then the other one I want to mention is If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. I don't know if you
Okay.
got a chance to see
Yep.
this.
Yep.
I thought Rose Byrne was just so good in this movie. And the pain that she's going through in that last like 30 to 45 minutes is just, I almost had to turn it off a couple times to take a
It's
break.
yeah. Oh, dude.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so those are the big ones that I wanted to mention.
Um. So my honorable mentions. If I had legs, I think I had that response to it where that was my issue with the three films I had an issue with that I'm not sure how I they're still unsettling to me, and this was one of them. Is just this idea of like, again, am I supposed to be entertained by any aspect of this film? You know
Hmm,
what I mean? I'm
right.
watching this woman go through these experiences that is physically making me cringe. It's hard to just
Yeah.
see her struggling. It's like watching a live drowning of someone or a waterboarding someone, and you're watching it and you're supposed to like stick around for an hour and a half to 2 hours because you're
Yeah.
along for the ride. Like it's very difficult to do. And sometimes I leave those going, wow, how do I rate this? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? How do I rate this? Because I never want to watch it again. And I'm
Right.
somebody that loves watching performances again. Ultimately, it fell down the list for me because I still just need time to process with it. And I watched it last
Sure.
week. Another movie I'm going to bring up. Well, actually, before I get there, let me. No, I've already told you my other. I had my honorable mentions. Yeah. So the last one I have on my honorable mentions will, I'm sure, is in your top 10, and we should give it some time here. I wanted to like this movie more than I did, so I already had expectations going into it. It was the first movie I watched in our last 2 weeks once it came available, and that's
Yeah.
Sentimental Value.
Okay.
It ultimately does not get to where I want it to get to.
Mm.
It, I want to hear your words on it and see if maybe you can budge me somewhere.
Yeah. So it's my number seven.
Okay,
Um,
I figured as much.
it's it's one of the ones that is hard to talk about because I do think if you have someone that has if you know someone or were close to someone that has dealt with depression in this way, as the main character did in this movie, I think that it's going to hit you in a slightly different way than maybe if you don't know somebody that's kind of been through that, someone that's been you've been incredibly close to. So I think that the relationship, it's like there's a mirror here, right, between Stellan Skarsgård and Renee Ronziv, right? They're mirrors of each other, right? So the whole point of the movie is for them to kind of for her especially, to come to that realization that the same things that she's struggled with are the same things he's struggled with, and there's no way to go back, right? Once it's already happened. So what do you do with that once the time is gone between all the pain and now? What do you do with it? And I think that's where Stellan Skarsgård's character comes in and says, "This is the way that I can deal with it. This is how I can talk to you." So he writes her a movie. And I thought that the scene where she reads the script finally, and the
Yeah,
sisters are
finally.
sitting there on the floor, and she's like, "Did you tell him about my experience?" Like, it's like he was there.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I didn't. And I think the movie uh, really comes into focus in that moment, because it lets the viewer know that these people, despite not being able to talk to each other about it, are connected in very important ways, and you need to be able to get to that acknowledgement first before you can move on. So the movie's about trying to get past all that pain and how hard it is, you know? And I think it does. By the time we get to the end of the film, it's accomplished what it's trying to do, which
Oh,
is, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So,
For sure. So here's my take on what you just said. I feel like, let me ask you a question. Do you feel like they do a good enough job? Well, clearly you did. Of showing that I don't necessarily feel she's depressed. She's facing depression. He's facing depression. Um, I'm just not sure that they did a good enough job of making the user or the audience understand that they are sharing similar uh, paths, I suppose.
mm,
So I get she's depressed. I found myself trying to figure out, is she mainly depressed because of the lack of relationship with her father? Because I feel like the level of depression that she's clearly demonstrating in this film
mm,
feels deeper to me than that. And I'm not, God, that's such a shitty thing to say as somebody who didn't have a father, right? But
yeah.
because that, you get what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because there's clearly, that's, that could cause where she's at. I'm not trying to downplay that.
Hmm.
But maybe because my personal experiences, I couldn't connect the rest of the way with how deep
Yeah.
maybe just that one layer actually goes because of my grandfather stepping in, right?
Hmm. Sure.
What does my life look like if I don't have that person?
Mm.
And even though I have so many things in common, we arts and the way we approach life and problem solve, and we're basically the same person. Do you feel they did a good enough job? And is that the layer I'm missing, or is it deeper than that even more?
No, I
What
think
is
I
her depression? What is her depression? And
well, I
can you not
think
identify it?
well, I think it's important here to make the there's a distinction here that's really important, because it's not just that her father wasn't there, right? It's that he was and then wasn't. It's that he was present for her, and then those last, I don't know how long it's supposed to be. I'm assuming a few months to a year
Yeah,
of consistent having a home that didn't feel like a home, and
yeah,
then for him to leave, not just to not be there, but to leave
yeah,
them there, is a different it's a different feeling. And I also think that it's important here to think of things in terms of gender, because
100%.
yeah, a girl being left by her father sets her up for all sorts of things that are different than a guy having to deal with his father not being there, right? So I think that's another important thing to keep in mind, is that I do think that there's some gender here that's really crucial. But also I think it's really important to remember that she's the oldest in this situation, and
That's
she has to be the other parent.
yeah,
And to do that to a child is
yeah,
to it puts you in a position that you feel responsible for shit that's not your fault.
yeah,
So you spend your whole life thinking that you're responsible for all that shit. And then it leads into your whole everything that goes wrong, everything that's wrong in your life, everything that isn't perfect is your fault. So I think that's another important part that is subtle, but I think it's here.
okay. Hey man, I'm buying it. The other thing too for me is I just want to give love to Inga, the one that played the younger
Mm,
sister. There's this great thing
yeah.
that you just alluded to about how Renee is the older sister, and that kind of goes back to what I was saying. They have that great conversation about why did you turn out differently? How were you able to have a husband and a house and these things and a family where
Hmm.
I was not? And she simply says, because I had you. And
Yeah,
that answers my own question there. But I thought Elle Fanning, who did great, I just thought this Inga should have been nominated.
she is
She is. I missed that
supporting.
one
Yeah.
then. Okay, so I
Yep.
missed that one. So she's in supporting. Okay, that makes more
Yep.
sense then. Okay. Um, yeah, I found her performance to be this powerful 1B to Renee's 1A. I just thought it was really good.
Yeah.
So, but it did
For
not
sure.
crack the top 10 for me. And maybe on a second
Okay.
watch it would. So, okay. Will, Marty Supreme, we talked about. Frankenstein, we have talked about. Sentimental Value, we've talked about. Time to talk about what I believe, I'm just going to stooge it out now, man, is the single handedly the best female performance of the year in the movie Hamnet. What did you think of the movie Hamnet overall, and specifically what Jessie Buckley did to that character?
Yeah. I mean, I've got this at my number 8.
Number
I
6 for me. Yep.
Yeah, I just watched this finally last night. So I'd been sitting on it for a while. Jessie Buckley's insane, man. Um, she's I don't know how someone can channel uh a performance like this. And like there's some scenes in the middle where she's not there, right? It's the character is there and she's
Yep.
gone.
Yep.
And I don't understand how it it's the best part of movies is when you can be completely taken in and transposed from where you're sitting into the film and be in that pain with a person or joy or whatever it is. And she does that consistently throughout the film in every scene. And man, the only problem I have with the movie really at this point, and maybe on a second watch it kind of filters out, is that the first half isn't as good as the second half. The second half is like out of this world, and
Yeah.
the first half drags a little bit. That's really all I have right now. And on a
D-
second watch, that might change. But
yeah, it might
anyway,
change, but I also think I had slight issues. Sometimes I feel like movies are excusing, and this is my own issue with movies. It's not really an issue with the movie. It's
yeah,
just sometimes I feel like, so in this case we're talking about Paul Mescal's character, right?
hmm,
He is obsessed with, again, he's communicating at the end with this play, kind of like Stellan Skarsgård, right?
hmm,
What is the movie saying? Is the movie forgiving Paul Mescal for constantly being away from his family, chasing down his dream? You know what I mean? For the most
hmm,
part. And then this tragedy happens, and yet he's trying to communicate the only way he knows how by that point.
hmm,
Stellan Skarsgård makes decisions along the way, and it's because he doesn't know how to communicate how he feels along the way and all these things. But at times it does feel like, because we get these moments of, I don't know if it's a complete forgiveness,
hmm,
but it's a moving on and it's a healing and it's needed. Like we all need it. Like you
yeah,
should never carry that bag with you the rest of your life. So again, I think this is my own hookup with these films, but sometimes it does feel like at the end of it, it was almost okay,
hmm,
um, that he was, rather than being by her side and them.
yeah,
You get what I'm saying? So
hmm,
I found the entire performance by her from Moment to Jump Street just from being amazing, and then that release at the end, like sitting in a theater with strangers and bawling your eyes out, and you're just like, holy crap.
hmm,
Um,
yeah.
where are you at with that little? Just my theory on, is the film giving him a pass?
No, I don't think he's getting a pass here. I do think that it's trying to recognize that people grieve in different ways, and
100%.
that's why so many couples end up splitting after a child's death because they can't recognize each other anymore because they're not the same people anymore. So I do think that I don't think it's trying to give a pass. I just think it's trying to be honest about these two people and the different ways that they need to cope with this loss. Um, I think that what Jessie Buckley is doing in that last scene is not a forgiveness, but like a recognition that he has been grieving. I think her worry was that he wasn't,
That he was, yes, yep,
that
that,
he
that,
didn't care.
that he
And
was,
the
yep.
exactly. So I think the movie is recognizing that he has to deal with this in his own way, and that comes with some tension, that comes with some flaws. And I think it recognizes that and acknowledges it without forgiving it, right?
Okay.
So,
Yeah, yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Totally fine with that. Okay, well, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to give
did
you.
you have this in your top 10?
This was my number 6, buddy. Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
This is a brilliant movie. Um, I'm going to give you my number 10 and number 9.
Okay.
Okay, because I don't think they're going to show up on your list. So I'm just going to get to
Okay.
them now. These are just personal favorites of mine from the past year. I've talked about it. Song Sung Blue showed up on my list at number 9. It was a movie that had absolutely no reason for me to care about it as much as it did. And I think a lot of it is just rooted in the performances. I'm going to say this. I do not think Hugh Jackman gets his flowers. I think he is a
Hmm.
powerhouse of an actor when he wants to be. And I'm starting to like when he signs on to something, I'm no longer questioning it. You know what I mean? Here
Hmm.
I am thinking, why the hell is Hugh Jackman making a Neil Diamond uh, movie? Like
Yeah.
why is he doing this at this stage in his career? Like why? And is it just because these are the roles he's getting? Whatever. I remember the guy in Prisoners.
Yeah.
That's the guy I know. That guy is an actor. And just because he doesn't choose roles like that all the time doesn't mean he can't go there. And I know he can go there. And he brings a level of sincerity and to this Neil Diamond character that I just didn't believe was going to exist going into it. And
Yeah.
that's not even the best performance from the movie. Kate Hudson is phenomenal. Like she's out of, if I would argue that she's not as deeply committed to the language like a Renate and an Inga and an Elle Fanning are because they have to be. That everything clings onto their words and their mannerisms. But damn, if she doesn't find a way to just bring heart to this movie. So that
Yeah.
was my number 10 or 9. My number 10 was I think the best comedy of the year, maybe second best. Was a movie called Splitsville.
Okay.
Did you see this film?
No, I can see the cover though.
Okay, Dakota Johnson, just
Hmm.
a couple other smaller actors, just bonkers. It's like Marty Supreme for couples.
Hmm.
It's really bonkers. It kind of goes off the rails early on, and I just thought it was really hilarious and it was really well done. And I think it was an honest look at couples don't who are so insecure that they don't want to lose what they've somehow managed to achieve or obtain. But
Yeah.
when both partners are feeling that way and yet nobody's communicating with each other. So I thought that movie was really well done and I really enjoyed my time watching that. I know both
Yeah.
of those you probably didn't see and they probably not on your list. So give me your next two lowest films on your list that we have not got to.
Yeah. So, the only other one that we haven't gotten to yet is my number 9, besides number 1 and 2, which I'm assuming we
Okay,
share.
then give me your number 9 then.
My number 9 is K-pop Demon Hunters. Um, Bro, this movie is so good. It's so good. Um, I've probably heard every one of these songs at least 50 times. I mean, I've probably seen the movie 7 or 8 times in pieces here and there because, I've got kids and they love it. Um, it it actually channels some real shit, right? Like about being excluded and not fitting in and trying to find your way through two different parts of yourself, right? And I think that the songs actually serve the movie perfectly.
I mean, they've been
And then
nominated for everything and
yeah,
won certain awards.
yeah,
So yeah, I believe it.
yeah. So at the end of the day, I just thought that this is the best animated movie of the year by a mile, and just wanted to give it some love. So it's my number 9.
Hey, I'm totally for it. It's funny how things like that can creep into it has to be because it has gotten a grand collective of people that all believe what you're saying, Will. It's kind of like when a Pixar movie like Toy Story breaks into the zeitgeist and it starts getting
Yeah.
talked about. You know what I mean? Things like
Yep.
that. where you're just like, wow, this movie has no business being here, but it is because they actually spent time in the craft and told it through this medium. So
Yeah.
I will never watch it. I
Oh,
just will.
that's too
I
bad, man.
really
Yeah, it's good. It's in my
maybe
top
all
10.
right. Maybe I'll try
Yeah.
to keep an open mind and watch it. I'll maybe one of these days. It's just gonna be what that one movie was for you that just kept kind of holding space, but just constantly gets moved down. So,
Yeah.
all right, the big question of the day: number one and number two. Both of my movies, or this is number one and number two. It's your number one and number two. I'm not surprised. I am
Yeah.
going to be interested though. If did you before you answer
Yeah.
at any moment after seeing both films? Did you move them back and forth, fighting with what the answer was, or did you know from Jump Street which one was one and which one was two for you?
I I I wrestled with it a tiny bit as a thought experiment, but
Me
I
too.
never believed it. Yeah.
Me too.
I mean, I knew out as soon as the credits rolled on one battle after another, I knew it was the best movie of the year. I felt like it might be the best movie of the decade, like instantly. And it might, I've watched it twice now. It's the only movie I've seen in theaters twice, and God, I don't know how long. Um, it's it's transcendent. It's I it's the closest thing to perfect sense for me since Interstellar.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so it's been 10, 12 years since I've seen a movie that I knew right away that this movie was going to be on my all-time list. So many people have talked about it. I'm not going to say anything new here, right?
No,
But I don't. Do you want to talk about this one now?
it's my number one movie of the year.
Yeah. So I it I don't know how to like what's the best part of this movie, right? Because there's so many different moving pieces. Is it the first 40 minute, like the prelude that's actually like a short film in itself, you know? Is it the undercurrent of, white supremacy that kind of is it's hit on the nose several times, but it's there the entire time. Like you can't shake it. It's filtering every single decision along the way. Or is it the performances? I mean, Leo's insane in this movie, and Chase Infinity's right there with him, and so is Sean Penn. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand how Paul Thomas Anderson. Like, I've always liked Paul Thomas Anderson. I've never like, other than There Will Be Blood. I've never loved one of his movies. This one was like instantly like he captured everything of the last 20 years that's important and put it into a film. I don't know how he did it.
So I actually I don't know where he is because I want to watch his whole catalog and I'm actually in the middle of doing that. I am
Hmm.
watching Paul Thomas Anderson, but I was a huge fan of Boogie Nights growing up. It was fun, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the how important that film is, but like if you break it down, I'm sure there's probably something there. There Will Be Blood might be my favorite movie of all time. I don't know. It's definitely top two favorite performances of all time. It's probably my favorite performance of all time. If I was to somebody was to ask me who you think put the best effort or best, whatever, an Alien, it would be
Hmm.
that movie for me. In the movie itself overall too. I enjoyed Licorice Pizza. So like I enjoy Paul Thomas Anderson. I want to say this though. I want to ask you this because you said something to me. So you said this might be the best movie since Interstellar in your eyes.
Hmm.
What makes you think what's so transcendent about it as a piece of art for you specifically? Was it the things that you just laid out? What is it that makes it feel more than just the best movie of 2025? What made it feel like a generational piece of film for you?
Um, it's really hard to put a finger on exactly what it is. I think man, it's a tough question because I can't put my finger on exactly what it is. I think it really is a culmination of like everything feeling so exact, like, and some of the minor themes in the film, like for instance Benicio del Toro having a whole underground railroad of interconnected network
Yeah.
of immigrants that he's while Bob is trying to figure out what the hell to do and trying to find a place to plug in his phone. Benicio del Toro's like without even trying running this perfect scheme to get these people to safety.
Yeah.
And I like that's not even the main part of the film. And
Well,
the
you know
other
why
part,
it's not? Have you heard about this? They didn't even
what?
have that part in the film. Benicio shows up to film and he goes up to Paul and he says, I want to talk to you about this script. And they're like, what do you mean? And he says, this is how I see this character. I think we need to do
Hmm,
this, this, and this. And he introduces the Underground Railroad part of it
yeah,
to Paul Thomas Anderson, who then they halt production and find these locations and then they go back at it. They didn't
yeah.
have Benicio del Toro that long. They said something like 13 days or something. And he
Hmm,
was on to something else. And he comes in and he just like drops this master class of things that just Paul Thomas Anderson falls ass
yeah,
backwards into.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Exactly. Like a few small beers, right?
yeah, it's so
Like,
perfect. Yeah,
oh man.
I'm with
So,
you. So here's where I'm at. When I because you're not the first person to say that. Like you know, um, Sean Hayes from The Big Picture. He's in the same category. He feels the exact same way as you. I think when I hear that, I say okay, and I start comparing it to other films. Um,
mhm,
I think it's as perfect a piece of art as any. I'm not sure that it's, when I compare it to like Oppenheimer,
mm,
Oppenheimer just felt like a movie that shouldn't have been executed as well as it was. You know what I mean? I just
yeah.
felt like the content mattered, even though this one is a perfect mirror of what we are. That one felt like a harder execution of it. But again, I'm picking nits there. This movie is still up there
Mm,
in that grandeur in the last 15, 20 years of where it should be. Um, I love this movie. I love so many things about this movie because for me, though, I am a more liberal minded human being. Does it take anything away from the fact that you're going to have a hard time having conservatives say that this is not a Hollywood piece of propaganda?
well, that's the funniest part about this is I actually think it's just as critical of liberals as it is of conservatives.
The whole Tiana Taylor character to me is a
Yeah,
criticism of
yeah,
that.
it's a that whole movement. It's a criticism about like not having any direction and not really knowing how to execute on big ideas.
Yep.
It's it's what are you actually accomplishing with all these things that you're doing? You're robbing a bank. Why?
Yeah.
What's the point of robbing a bank?
Yeah.
It's to fund your little movement. It's because you're not, taking part in society.
Yep.
You're something underground. So that just proves the point, I think, of the conservative critique in the film is that conservatives can't watch this and have any sort of nuance, right?
Yeah, and they're
That's the
not going to
funniest
give it a
part to me.
chance to do a case study on it anyway. So like, the MAGAs of the world. There are
Yeah,
conservative people that will watch this and leave there and think that. Um,
yeah.
the specific details, this might have the first or second best constructed scene in the entire film the entire year. And I think the second or first one comes from the other movie Sinners that we're going to talk
Yeah,
about. And that's the dance scene, right? So
yeah,
it's just those movies are there because they took a great piece of art and then they found ways to elevate it. You talked about Chase Infinity. Tiana Taylor's the one that's getting, and she's great. She's great
hmm,
in this movie. But Chase Infinity, I thought was the next level, and I think
yeah.
it's a robbery that she's not nominated.
It's insane to me.
So, um, as far as Leonardo DiCaprio goes, he's my favorite actor, and I
Yeah.
just found this. This is kind of where I like what they said about it on some of these other podcasts. He's morphed into this weird kind of unsettling, unsure,
Mm,
kind of brilliant man. Like you talked about Don't Look Up and the way in which he's the scientist and he goes about it. The way we talked about, how he is as Bob here and you win as Bob for Halloween, which was great. I'll have to post that so others can
yeah, you
see it.
should.
Yeah. So it's just another performance of him where he's bringing these levels of that maybe 10 years ago that version of Leonardo DiCaprio wasn't aged into yet. Couldn't do it. Could you see, him 10 years ago as a father? Now he's getting these roles
Right.
because he's a little bit older and you believe him and he's picking the right ones. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
just it was my favorite movie of the year. Let's talk about the second one and how close it was. Sinners.
Yeah.
For a movie to come out in April and you're still talking about it a year later almost, that means it did something right, Will. What's resonated
Right.
with you a year later?
Honestly, it's I mean, it's so strange to me that there were people who didn't like that dance scene. I don't
Me too.
I
I don't
don't
even understand it.
I don't understand it because I thought it was like it's probably the best scene of the year. Like when you sit down and think about it
I
because
agree.
it takes everything that the movie is trying to say and it breaks the fourth wall. And I mean the whole point of the film is that it can music can bring your soul through all of the ages,
Yeah.
right? And then you get to this song that's the other part that helps. It's an incredible song.
Yep.
And then you throw it into this where everything molds together, past, present, future, and I just thought it was perfect. I thought that Michael B. Jordan was actually great in this movie,
Yeah.
which is not something I feel like you can say all the time about
Agree.
his performances.
Yep.
And then you know the it's a vampire movie too, right? Like so
I know.
you get all the pieces. It's everything you want from a movie. Like there's the different side. Like I wrote a review for one of the movies the other day and I was like, this is the other side of the coin, right? Like I love the action side of the coin that Hollywood brings, but I also love this side too. This is the side that's most important. But this movie's the coin, right? It
Yeah.
it gives you all of the things that are important in an action film, but it also has just this deep and layered uh, sentiment about black culture that is so important, and the just how much we've robbed from them while also demonizing them is insane.
It is such it's an important piece of film or art for the black culture. I was a little shocked as it seemed like a lot of the divisiveness came from the black culture when it came to that scene.
Mm.
I felt like, I forget the gentleman's name on he's a guest on the rewatchables. Sometimes he's on the big picture. Sometimes he's got his own podcast.
Uh,
Um, but anyways, he was one that kind of took that stance on that scene. But here's the other thing to me. I feel like with Michael B. Jordan, a lot of the times because he's picking great roles, right?
yeah.
He put himself in these positions, but I'm not sure his performance has always matched what people end up wanting to
Mm.
think it has.
Yeah.
And I think any fair film cinephile or critic will just say, look, he just hasn't achieved it yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This movie he does, and he does it twice because he's got to play two
Yeah.
different people. You know what I mean? And it's like, holy shit, Michael B. Jordan. Now you're
Yep.
getting your flowers because you've arrived. Unfortunately, we're always going to have the race discussion in this country because
Yeah.
it just is a part of who we are, and it's constantly enrooted in our history. Therefore, it's always going to be in our present. And a
Yeah.
lot of times, it might shape conversations that maybe it doesn't have any business being in, and it just does. But this movie, man, whether it's about black culture or not, whether it's about an all black cast, which it's not, but you know what I mean, a majority black cast, which you don't get a lot of in the
Yeah.
mainstream Hollywood. It's just a fucking awesome film.
Yeah.
It's just a fucking awesome vampire film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the Irish singing, like the music you get from this, adds so much to this film.
For
Not just
sure.
that one scene, but the Irish songs that you get that are enrooted to vampire history and lineage. It was just a really really well done movie, and I can't say enough. What's the gentleman that's nominated for an Oscar? Leroy
Uh, Delroy Lindo.
Delroy Lindo, and he's been around
Yeah.
forever. He was in Gone in
Yeah.
60 Seconds and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
be honest with you, I was surprised to see him in that movie when he popped up. I was like, holy shit, this guy's still alive and looks good. Um, so he was doing
Yeah.
well. Though that's my top 10. That's your top 10, Will. Anything you want to add? Maybe a movie that didn't get mentioned. Um, we're an hour 45 in. I thought we'd spend the next 15 on the Oscars, and
Yeah.
clearly
I
we've
mean,
already went through what
just
the best picture is.
yeah,
So
I'll just a couple more shout outs real quick. Just because I want to make sure I talk about Steven Soderbergh because he had two movies this year that I thought
okay,
were awesome, and the Black Bag was in my top 10 until I watched Sentimental Value in Hamnet this weekend.
Sure.
So that one, and then he also did a movie called Presence, where he tells the ghost story from the point of view of the ghost. And
Oh,
I just thought it was
what
fucking great. Like
what a
just a
unique
really
idea,
cool
man.
innovation on the whole idea. And anyway, those are the last two I just wanted to shout out real quick.
I might
So
have to watch that Presence just to see how he does that.
yeah,
So
it's worth it. So
yeah. Black Bag I will get to. I just haven't got to it. Looked like fun. Um,
yep,
okay, Will. We've got 11 categories to cover, actually 10, because we've already covered our best picture. So here's what I want us to do. Last year, we spent a lot of time on what we wanted versus what we thought. Forget
yeah,
what we think. Forget what we think.
yep,
We're
okay,
just going to talk about not just what we want, but like you're picking what you think is going to win because that's
yeah,
also what you want. You thought it was the
yeah,
best performance. So let's start with the best supporting actress, Will, category.
okay. Supporting actress of what I want and what I'm hoping for is Amy Madigan. I just think her popping up and giving this kind of performance out of fucking nowhere is insane, and I just am hoping for that. So
Yeah, what's nice about this is the category where I've seen every nominee in it. Elle Fanning,
yeah,
Inga, I did miss her. So Inga here, yes. Amy Madigan, Wonmi Mosaku, and Teyana Taylor. So I'm with you, man. Amy Madigan was my choice. I thought she was of all those characters from this year, you're going to remember her performance. Now, she's got the advantage. She's playing the villain in a horror movie,
yeah,
that did very well within the public eye. Um, so she's going to have that, that singular nature to her that stands out, but
sure.
she also deserves it. She did
Well,
really
yeah, and
phenomenal.
how often do horror movies get an acting noms though too? So
Yeah. So I think she's the real favorite in that to take it. So
yeah,
uh let's talk actor in a supporting role, Will. Nominees: Benicio del Toro, One Battle After Another; Jacob Elordi; Delroy Lindo; Sean Penn; and Stellan Skarsgård. Will, this is a pretty stacked cast here of
it is.
characters. I'm interested to see what One Battle After Another person you went with.
Yeah, Benicio del Toro. I mean, um, the movie is transcendent because of that second act with him in it, and leading the way and the Underground Railroad. Like, so for me, it's got to be him. I curious about whether he and Sean Penn kind of split votes though, and maybe somebody else gets the win.
I
But
think
that's
if
what
it
I think is
goes
gonna
that
happen.
route, I think Delroy Lindo gets it.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah. Because I got to be honest with you, I think it's Sean Penn. And
Mm,
we're a living example of that vote being split right there, right? So
right.
I think Sean, and a lot of times movies refuse to put up both people because of this
Right.
very nature. They want somebody from their movie to win.
Yeah.
They put up both. I went with Sean Penn because he is the most vile, cold hearted, disgusting scumbag of a human being that you can't wait to get his upcomings. And it's funny that his own kind gave it to him.
Yep.
The whole reverse raped is going to go down as one of the funniest things I've ever heard. And he says it and delivers
She
it.
was a semen demon.
Semen demon. She was a semen demon, your sir. I was reverse raped. It's just so perfect. It is such a. I just talked about Amy Madigan. It is such a in a movie that has all these characters that are just
Yeah.
fucking nailing it. Sean Penn is one that you leave there going, what the hell was Sean Penn doing? Right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you
Right.
need that villain because you need to root for the movie. So I went with Sean Penn. All right.
Gotcha.
Well, let's talk about some of the other the other things here. Let's talk cinematography. All right. The categories or the nominees for cinematography, Will. I thought it was a shame that we didn't get one from F1, but they go as such. Nominees: Frankenstein, Dan Lautzen; Marty Supreme, Darius Kanji; One Battle After Another, Michael Ballman; Sinners, Autumn Darold Arcapa, I think, Arcapa; and then Train
Mm.
Dreams, Adolfo Veloso. Will, who did you give cinematography to?
For me, it's Sinners. I think the way that the South is shot here, and you get some of these sunrises and backdrops that are just so gorgeous. And then you get, it's always fascinating in horror movies when you get that blood that's kind of sprayed on stuff,
Yeah.
and the way that it pops is
Yeah.
always, interesting to think about what that says about us psychologically, why that matters so much and why it feels important. But I just saw everything here was perfect on that side, so that's what I think is going to happen.
I don't think it's wrong. I didn't go that route. I think the blocking and the pacing to the song, the scene that we talked about, alluded to, the dance scene,
Mm-hmm.
is so well done. I gave it serious consideration. Um, but I was enamored with Train Dreams because it dives into real environments. And I
Yeah.
just always am going to give the edge to that. Frankenstein is nominated in this movie, and I just think it's so. Again, I know we're talking visual effects versus real environment, but cinematography just jumps off the page to me when dealing with natural environment.
Yeah.
So I went with Train Dreams because I thought about like the Brutalist last year and
Mm-hmm.
just how well that looked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how that I think adds to what the cameraman is doing behind the camera when he
Right.
has that type of environment to work with. So Train Dreams got it from me.
Yeah. The only movie here that shouldn't win is Frankenstein. Every
I
other one
agree.
is deserving. So,
Yep. I totally agree with that. All right, let's talk original screenplay. I went with Sinners. I thought I'm jumping the gun here, Will. I should have set this up for everybody. I apologize. Um, Original screenplay nominees are, here's a movie we did not talk about, Will. Blue Moon. It Was Just an Accident. Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. I think Sinners will take this, and I actually think it'd be well deserved too.
yeah, right there with you. That's why I have.
Adapted screenplay, I think it's fair to say that the category or the nominees are Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle After Another, and Train Dreams. This feels like One Battle After Another will win this one. I don't think there's any doubt in those two. If you had to give
Yeah.
the second scoring, would you go Hamnet,
No, Train Dreams.
Train
I
Dreams?
think
Okay.
I think when a movie can do narration right and it works, I think that has a lot to do with the writing, and
Okay.
I think that's what I would go with second. But I'm with you. One battle after another, too.
Okay. Music. You're talking about music. Let me find the category here for best. Here we go. Here it is. Music, best original score, Will. The nominees are Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle After Another, and Sinners. I think we've already spoken about it. It's got to be Sinners in my part because it wasn't just,
Right.
the I Lied to You song. I mean,
Yeah.
I left that theater, Will, listening to the soundtrack.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. It's got to be Sinners here. Um, it, it's the movie's about music and it nails it. So that's it for me.
Well, that's already, I think you won two, maybe three awards. The Sinners and Sinners set the record here for the most nominations from a movie of all time. So
Right.
let's see if that continues with this one when we talk best original song. I'm
Yeah.
curious because after your number 8 best film of the year, there's a little competition here, and
Yeah.
I Lied to You has not competed as well as the K-pop Golden Song has.
Yeah.
So here's the nominees: Will, Dear Me, Golden from the K-pop Demon Hunters, I Lied to You from Sinners, Sweet Dreams of Joy from Viva Verdi, and Train Dreams from Train Dreams. Where did you go? I went with I Lied to You. I think it's the most
Yeah.
impactful scene of the year, and you have to have an impactful song to go with it.
Yeah. Well, yes, Golden is why is what I went with. Golden comes at a really important time of that film,
Okay.
K-pop Demon Hunters. It uh,
I just like
it
hearing you
really
say
does.
the whole title.
Yeah, I had to. It the whole conceit here is that the lead singer is also a demon, right? And it sounds a little corny when I say it like that, but this song just kind of perfectly embodies the whole sentiment of the film. And I mean, Jesus, it's just such a ballad. It's so good.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we've got 3 left. We've got the best director, we've got best actor, and best actress. So let's start with best director. Here's the nominees for directing in this year's Oscars. Nominees are Chloe Zhao from Hamnet, Josh Safdie from Marty Supreme, Paul Thomas Anderson from One Battle After Another, Joachim Trier from Sentimental Value, and Ryan Coogler from Sinners. I went with Paul Thomas Anderson, and I believe that they are going to give him his flowers after
Yeah.
a long time of trying to chase it, especially after 2007, where I thought they could have gave it to him, but they went with the Coen brothers. So, which,
Yep.
don't get me wrong, great movie too. So,
Yeah.
does he get his flowers here, or do you think Ryan Coogler somehow
I
pulls the
don't think
upset?
it's off the table, but I feel like it's got to be PTA here. As much as I love Sinners, there's only one movie that is gonna potentially live in my top 10, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's got to be PTA. So
Gotcha. I agree with you. Well, that brings us to Best Actress and Best Actor, Will. And let's get the actress out of the way because I've already stooged my vote for it. I think you
yeah,
kind of have as well, but let's talk about it. Actress in a leading role is Hamnet, Jessie Buckley. Rose Byrne, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, which I think is this is a tough category when it comes to
it is.
performances this year. Kate Hudson's song Sung Blue, I'm just happy she's nominated because it validates my opinion of what I've been saying on the movie.
Yeah,
You didn't see it, right?
I'm halfway through it.
Okay. Well, that doesn't do well for. Okay. All right. I'm just going to say that it was the last movie you were trying to get in and we had to do this podcast. But,
It was,
right.
to be fair,
Oh,
but
okay, good. Renate Rensby, Sentimental Value, and or Renate Ven. I'm probably butchering it. I'm sorry. And then Emma Stone, Begonia. Will, I acknowledge the depth here. I acknowledge how close it is. If I had to give a rating here, I would go Jessie Buckley 1. I'm probably leaning on Rose Byrne 2 and then Renate 3. Tell me if I'm wrong. How you feel
no,
about it?
that's where I'm at too. I
Okay.
think Jessie Buckley is on a tier all by herself, though. I think the
I
other ones
agree.
are kind of like on that second tier. So it's got to be Jessie Buckley.
I did want to give a shout out to a movie we haven't talked about and a performance I thought was worthy of it, and that's Amanda Seyfried for The Testament of Anne Lee.
Yeah.
Did you see this film?
Not yet.
Will, this thing is bonkers. You talk
Yeah.
about committed. You talk about being a method, just committing to your belief system. The Testament of Anne Lee, Amanda Seyfried and that Anne Lee character, holy crap. So
Yeah.
that's one of those movies that you're going to hate, but you're going to love the performance of it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's a good movie. I'm just saying because of what is being done in the movie. So,
Gotcha.
Okay. Last thing to talk about, Will, Best Actor, only because I think this could go one of three ways. All right? This is
Yep.
actor nominations for this year's Oscars. Timothy Chalamet for Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, and Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. Here's who I don't think's going to win it. I don't think Ethan Hawke's winning for Blue Moon, and I don't think
No.
Wagner Moura is winning for The Secret Agent.
Nope.
Now, I genuinely believe Timothy Chalamet deserves it for this role.
Yeah.
As a fan, I'd love Leonardo DiCaprio to get it, but I do think there's an outside push for people saying that Michael B. Jordan has finally met his potential.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Timothy Chalamet is my pick. That would be my pick. That would where my vote would go. Where would you go with this?
It's the toughest category, I think.
I agree.
Because all three of these all deserve to win. I feel like it's gonna be Timothy Chalamet as well. If it was my vote and I had to cast the ballot, I'm probably doing Leo because he's doing something he's never done before, right? I think he's finding another side to his acting, and he's so underappreciated. We're gonna look back at his time and say why. Like I just don't get it. Like he's the actor of his time, and for him to leave his acting and to if he only has one award, it just doesn't make sense to me. So
Yep.
that's why I'm hoping for Leo. But
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole Charlie Chaplin Lifetime Achievement Award. You miss out 50 years later. He's in his 80s, and he's finally you bring some flowers to the man. It's like
yeah,
we really have to do a case study of year by year of the performances that beat him and why he
yeah,
didn't have, whether or not they were like where could he have grabbed another one? You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I sometimes that's easy to say, and then you look back at like that particular year, like maybe Sean Penn for Mystic River. That to me was the best performance of that year, so I get it. But maybe he was going up against um, him in The Departed that year. You know
yeah.
what I mean? So like
Hmm.
those things, I might have my years off there, but you get the what I'm going after.
Yep, yep,
I actually think Leo is the third in the voters' eyes.
yeah.
I think it's either Timothy or Michael B. Jordan. Um, and I would love for Leo to get it, but I ultimately think they're going to go with Timothy Chalamet, and he hasn't won an Oscar yet, and I think they're going to give it to him early so they don't make the mistake like they did with
Yeah.
Leo with Timothy. So
You're probably right.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yep.
Well, that's a lot of fun, bud. I know we went a little long
Yeah.
in the tooth there, and I apologize. You're a working man, and I'm
Ah,
just sitting on my ass doing nothing. But I like the way we did it. Maybe next year I'll trim the list down to just 25 instead of 35. So,
all right. Well, no, I thought it went well.
as always, keep watching movies and let us know what you thought in the comments. We always enjoy the engagement. I'll share this with Will, and keep watching movies.
All right. See you.